Harry James Potter was an adult wizard born July 31st, 1980. He was one of the most famous wizards of his age, known by such names as the Boy Who Lived and the Chosen One. When he was only a year old, a wizard named Voldemort attempted to kill him in hopes of cutting off a future competitor. However, Harry's parents' protection, especially the sacrifice from his mother, enabled him a shield against Voldemort. When the Dark Lord attempted to kill Harry Potter, his killing curse rebounded and killed his physical body instead. Eventually, Harry would grow up and attend Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry as a Gryffindor student. Throughout his time at Hogwarts, he would go on to learn many things, especially defense against the dark arts. On several occasions, he would meet Voldemort face to face, eventually defeating him in May 1998. Harry Potter was a noble and courageous wizard, capable of fantastic magical abilities. Ronald Bilious Weasley was an adult wizard born March 1st, 1980. He was the second youngest in a family of 5 older brothers and a younger sister. He too would attend Hogwarts, where he eventually befriended Harry Potter and Hermione Granger. Together, the trio would go on many adventures together, both perilous and jovial. Ron would go on to fight in many battles before and during the Second Wizarding War, like the Battle of Department of Mysteries, the Battle of the Astronomy Tower, the Battle over London, and of course, the Grand Battle of Hogwarts. In each battle, he was able to hold his own and vanquish or survive his opponents. Ron Weasley was also a noble and courageous wizard, capable of holding his own against much more experienced wizards. As with all my Versus videos, I review characters at their prime. For Harry Potter, this would be at the end of the Second Great Wizarding War, just before he defeated Lord Voldemort, as he would lose many of his powerful abilities after his connection to Voldemort was broken off. For Ron, I mark his prime sometime after the war when he would eventually become an Auror. Unfortunately, there isn't much information on his specific career as an Auror, so I would be making educated guesses to his ability based on other Aurors. Harry Potter was of average build and height. During his time at Hogwarts, he played as a seeker on the Gryffindor Quidditch team. Though seekers were usually spry, lightweight, and agile, they often had to be very resilient as they were the recipients to many Quidditch fouls. Therefore, we can assume, in this regard, that Harry Potter was relatively resilient to pain. Ron Weasley was a very tall and lanky wizard. During his time at Hogwarts, he played as a keeper on the Gryffindor Quidditch team. Keepers wore the most protection of any other player, and they were usually rather stocky and athletic. During the Quidditch tryouts during Ron's 6th year, he went up against an opponent named Cormac McCreary, who had a build that was much more imposing than Ron. Therefore, we can assume Ron was rather athletic and stocky himself, but he was not the biggest guy around. It is also noted that he could take physical damage as well. Both Harry Potter and Ron Weasley were similarly built, but I think Ron gets the slight edge over Harry in terms of physical abilities. Harry Potter is an extremely loyal and courageous individual, as was the mantra of the Gryffindor house. On several occasions, he has put himself ahead of his friends in spite of himself. For example, he sacrificed himself for Hermione to defend her from a mountain troll, and Ginny Weasley to defend her from Tom Riddle and his giant serpent, and Sirius Black from the Dementors, and Cedric Diggory after the return of Lord Voldemort, and his friends during the Battle of the Department of Mysteries and the Battle of Hogwarts, and of course, the whole wizarding community when he sacrificed himself to Voldemort. In short, he was a pretty good dude. It is also noted that he was even able to resist the Imperius Curse, a highly influential and illegal curse. However, he was regarded as being too headstrong at times. He was often too impulsive in his actions, which tied to his strong will and pride. But his instincts were usually correct, though he was sometimes deemed as obsessive as showcased with his focus on Draco Malfoy in his 6th year. Harry also exhibited fantastic leadership skills, as seen in his creation of Dumbledore's army. He was probably such a good leader because of his general lack of power lust. Instead of hoarding his knowledge and power like Voldemort, he divulged and shared what he knew. Ron Weasley was very brave and courageous, but he was also funny, yet immature and occasionally callous. He too, like the rest of his family, would be placed in Gryffindor House, which enlisted the students with the most bravery, yet those students often had too much pride. His bravery also came with a fierce temper, which he unleashed on his foes and opponents instantly, as showcased against Draco Malfoy after he insulted Hermione Granger. While on the run with Harry and Hermione during the Second Wizarding War, they carried Salazar Slytherin's locket, which revealed one's deepest insecurities. For Ron, it was revealed to him that he feared he was the least favored in his large family and that Hermione preferred Harry over Ron. This insecurity would eventually break him, and he would leave his friends behind to carry on without him. However, Ron was not without remorse and would overcome his pride, returning to his friends in the end. Harry and Ron were on par in their regard for bravery and courageousness. However, their greatest difference would be highlighted through Slytherin's locket. As mentioned before, the locket extracted the user's greatest fear and insecurities. For Harry, his greatest fear and anguish stemmed from his lack of family and his extensive loneliness. For Ron, his anguish was pulled from his insecurity within his large family and his love interest. Ultimately, Ron would lose out to the locket, whose power would turn him against his friends. Therefore, one could argue Harry had more strong will and resilience than Ron. Though they were both brave and stood up for their friends and family with intensity, I'd have to give the edge to Harry Potter in terms of personality traits. Harry Potter carried an 11-inch holly wand with a phoenix feather core. Phoenix feathers were the rarest wand cores and carried the most varied form of magic. Though they were powerful, it took time for their cores to reveal their magic and often acted on their own accord, to the dismay of most witches and wizards. Many would argue that Harry Potter was only as great as he was because of his connection to Voldemort and his timely luck. However, there are several occasions we see him as an accomplished duelist against much more experienced foes, despite his extra powers. Though he was not on par with the likes of Dumbledore, Voldemort, or even Severus Snape, he was able to best Antonin Dolohov on 2 separate occasions. Also, during the battles of the Department of Mysteries, Harry was the only member left unscathed. He was also noted to best Yaxley, Fenrir Greyback, Draco and Lucius Malfoy, and many other accomplished Death Eaters. In school, he received exceeds expectations on his school examinations for Defense Against the Dark Arts, Potions, Transfiguration, and Charms. He was also capable of conjuring a Patronus strong enough to repel several Dementors at once. However, he did have adversity with using non-verbal magic and lacked resistance to occlumency. By far, his most powerful spell was his Disarming Charm. It would be one of the first charms he learned, and he would go on to master it during the Second Wizarding War. Ron Weasley carried many wands during his youth and adolescence, though at his prime as an Auror, he probably owned his 14-inch Willow wand with unicorn hair core. Wands with unicorn hair were known to produce very consistent magic with the least amount of fluctuations. Ron was often overshadowed by his family and his friends, but he was a fully capable duelist as well. Like Potter, he was not on par with the high wizards like Dumbledore and Voldemort, but he was able to hold his own against other capable Death Eaters and Snatchers such as Bellatrix Lestrange and Fenrir Greyback. Ron has also participated in several battles such as the Department of Mysteries, Astronomy Tower, Malfoy Manor, and of course the Battle of Hogwarts. He was even able to hold his own in unofficial battles, such as his skirmishes with Snatchers on several occasions. In school, he received exceeds expectations on his school examinations for defense against the dark arts, charms, potions, and transfiguration. Ron had a better handle on non-verbal magic than Harry, often cursing his opponents without uttering a word. He too was capable of conjuring a Patronus, but not nearly as strong as Harry's. Most notable was Ron's tactical mind, as he was more pragmatic than either Harry or Hermione, who used their intuition or logic respectively. So it's pretty obvious who is the better duelist between the two. Harry Potter has more skill and experience than his best friend Ron Weasley. Because of Harry's connection to Voldemort, it afforded him many abilities, especially for dark curses like Sector Sempra. His magical fortitude was stronger than Ron's as well, as showcased with his ability with the Patronus charm. Though Ron had a better tactical mind than Harry, he still would not be able to overpower him magically, and none of his dueling abilities were refined enough to outbest Harry's quick draw. Therefore, I give the edge to Harry Potter as a wand duelist. Harry Potter and Ron Weasley were both great wizards that would eventually go on to be accomplished aurors in their post-Hogwarts careers. Though Harry was athletic, Ron Weasley beat him in terms of physicality. Though Ron was easygoing and courageous, Harry Potter was more level-headed. And though Ron was advanced as a duelist for his age, Harry simply had more experience and skill. Much of Harry Potter's innate skill came from his connection to Voldemort, and I do my comparisons between each character's prime. If Ron and Harry were fighting as adult aurors, I believe the fight would be much more even, with Ron having a better chance to outduel Harry straight out. But still, Harry was a bother for even most Death Eaters, let alone someone his own age. Also, Harry Potter had a much more level head than Ron Weasley, who often let his rage become too much for him. Therefore, I declare Harry Potter, the boy who lived, the chosen one, the ultimate victor. As always, this is my own opinion, though I would think anyone would be very hard-pressed to make a case for Ron Weasley against Harry Potter. But still, let me know what you guys think. Also, let me know if you like the idea of me doing more diverse versus videos outside of Star Wars. It was a little difficult doing this one, but I think I'm starting to get the hang of it. Mischief manage.